So we're talking about U.S. presidential inaugurations. So this is an American ritual which has been going on for years now. So what do you think about this political ritual?
It's a very important ritual, which obviously reaffirms the commitment that a person who is taking office has towards the people that is going to serve, as well as the constitution and the laws of the country. It's an important ritual which all heads of state across the world in different countries have to go through, have to take an oath of office, and shows their commitment. So it's absolutely important.
So why is it necessary to have such a transfer of power?
Well, having an election is one thing. The most important part of an election, perhaps, especially in our part of the world in Africa, is the transfer of power. We see in the United States of America that an election is held in November and the result is declared, and they have a 2-month period within which there is a transition. And this is something that is important because it helps to provide a smooth transition from the outgoing administration to a new administration.
Now, under normal circumstances, you would think that the outgoing president can have some kind of ill feelings, But is that the case as far as you're concerned?
Well, we are human beings, and when you've been in a job, especially in a position of power, there are certain things that you will probably miss. And we have seen in many countries, many people who have been in positions of leadership of that nature do not want to leave office at all. But there has to be something within the traditions, the conventions of a country, which compel people to respect the constitution, respect the term limits, and accept that when the term, the term is finished, they leave office. There is life after leadership, and other people will come and do a good job, perhaps even better than you have been doing. That is the nature of leadership.
Now let's turn to Africa. You know that there are some countries like Gambia, countries like Ghana, South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique, Namibia. There are certain ways of transferring power. As we speak right now, there are problems in Gambia. So why is it so hard for African leaders to actually transfer power to the next one?
Well, for a lot of them, it's because they abuse office and they commit so many atrocities within their own countries that they end up fearing leaving power, because when you're a president, you enjoy immunity from prosecution. And for many of them, they are not willing to leave power because it exposes them. They become ordinary people, and they don't want that. So abuse of power is one of the reasons why they end up clinging on to positions of leadership. But there's also the trappings of power. When you're a leader, you have access to resources, you have access to virtually anything. You can command anyone to do anything for you. And, someone said power is sweet. And that's how it is. They want to stay on in power for as long as possible. We are also very young countries. We have not had the same histories as other older democracies. We've now managed to create conventions, to create traditions which are respected, regardless of whether or not you like the person who has won an election, and they respect that. We are yet to get to that. The Gambia, it's a very disappointing situation, but we also have hopeful situations such as nearby Ghana, where there's been a smooth transfer of power after the elections in Gambia. And we hope that the problem in Gambia will be resolved soon.
And let's talk about Zimbabwe, the transfer of power. People know only one president, and it's going to be like that for some time to come, right? So, are we going to witness such transfer of power like what is happening in America?
Well, that is our hope. Every one of us hopes that there will be an occasion, not before long, that Zimbabwe goes through a process where power is transferred from someone who has been in charge for the past 37 years. We had a chance in 2008 when Morgan Tsvangirai beat Robert Mugabe in that election. We all know how farcical that election was. Mr. Mugabe ended up remaining as president after the electoral authorities refused or failed to announce the results within the required period of time. It took 6 weeks, I think, before the results were announced, during which time I believe that the election results were being cooked up. All that, in my view, was an effort to avoid transfer of power. And therefore, we have had an opportunity, but we were not able to take it. I hope that there will be a chance soon when Zimbabwe will be able to enjoy, like I said, it's not only an American thing. We see it in many Western democracies, but we also see it in other democracies in Asia and in Africa. Like I said, Ghana has been a shining example. Countries like Ghana have shown us that the opposition party can win and the ruling party can concede power, and they will allow a transfer of power to take place. Nigeria also did the same thing a few years ago, and Kenya and other countries. And I think that this is something that needs to be encouraged. The more we see it happening in Africa, the more it becomes normal, and the more people will embrace it, and it won't be something extraordinary at all.
Now, just in a few words, what's the key of having this smooth transfer of power? Especially in Zimbabwe and other countries where you think these are hotspots. Just a few words.
Well, you know what? I refer to it as the human factor. The human factor, I mean that it is about the people who are in charge of institutions of the state. The constitutions of all these countries, including Zimbabwe, they all have very good provisions which allow for the transfer of power. The problem is that the people who are in charge of state institutions, the key elements of the state, such as the military, have not been willing to allow for transfer of power in these different countries. We see what's happening in the Gambia at the moment, with the military seemingly backing the outgoing president, who is refusing to leave power. And once we get those key institutions right, get people who respect the law. It's about the rule of law. It's about understanding that what matters most is the law. Whatever your views about an individual, about a person, they're irrelevant. As long as people have elected that person, then they should be allowed to take power and to exercise their mandate. We've got America at the moment. Not everybody is in favor of the person who was elected as president. But you know what? He is the person who has been chosen. The American system will respect it, and he will take power and become president. And that's what should happen in our country. It doesn't have to be about personal opinions. It's about the law.
Thank you very much, Magaisa. We really appreciate your comments.
You're most welcome.